Hello everyone, in this video series I am going to explain you the Scrum guide. If you are preparing for PSM exam or CSM or you are aspiring Scrum Master, then this video series will definitely help you. So the Scrum guide is the standard guide for the Scrum framework, or you can call it as the rule book. The Scrum guide is written and maintained by Ken Squaber and Jeff Sutherland. The first version of the Scrum Guide was written in 2010, and since then it has been updated quite a few times. The current version of the Scrum Guide is the November 2020 version, and I'll be explaining you the 2020 version only in this video series. Ken Squaber and Jeff Sutherland are also co-creators of the Scrum framework, which was developed in early 1990s. The Scrum Guide here contains various elements of the Scrum, such as the roles, artifacts, values, pillars, and Scrum events. It also contains the Scrum definition and theory details. So in this video, I would be covering the Scrum definition and Scrum theory, and going forward, I'll be making different parts of this video series in which I will cover the rest of the topics. So to start with the Scrum definition, Scrum is a lightweight framework that helps people, teams, and organizations generate value through adaptive solutions for complex problems. And so Scrum is a lightweight framework because it provides just enough structure for people and teams to integrate into how they work. Um, it is very easy to understand, and it has very few elements, and maximizes these elements maximizes the responsiveness to the customer needs basically. So the elements of Scrum are the roles, the artifacts, the values, the pillars, and the events. And all these elements of Scrum are very easy to understand. That's why it is being called as the lightweight framework. Though these events are easy to understand, these elements are easy to understand, but they are difficult to implement. I'll come to this point later. But for now, to understand the first sentence here, uh, the lightweight framework that helps people, teams, and organizations generate value through adaptive solutions for complex problems. Now, what are the adaptive solutions? To understand the adaptive solutions, first you need to understand what are the complex problems. Complex problems are those with many unknowns, and there are aspects of the problems that are unidentified. Now, as a customer, if you know that your product requirement or uh, your problem, uh, you do not have the complete picture of what exactly is your requirement, right? You do not have the detailed plan. The simple problem would be something for which you have a detailed plan, detailed requirements, and you know that if you follow the plan, you will reach the end result that you are expecting. You'll reach the expected result basically. But if your product is more keen to change during the development process, there are unknown features, unknown characteristics, or unknown details of the product or the problem that would be identified later in the development process, that can be identified later in the development process, and there are changes expected during the development process, then the problem or the product would be considered as the complex product or the complex problem. Now, for such complex problems, adaptive solutions are required. What are adaptive solutions? Adaptive solutions are the flexible solutions, or the solutions that can be redesigned, refashioned, or accommodated based upon the changing requirements. So, for such adaptive solutions, Scrum framework is the answer. How adaptive solutions can be implemented? By using Scrum framework. So Scrum framework will help the teams and organizations to create a value added product through the adaptive solutions or the adjustable solutions for resolving the complex problems. That is what the first sentence means here. In a nutshell, Scrum requires a Scrum Master to foster an environment where, so there are various basic activities that are involved that are mentioned here, and one point I mentioned above, that Scrum framework is easy to understand, but it is difficult to implement. That is where the Scrum Master role comes into picture. And there are many Scrum teams that have started out in the right way, but soon they'll fall off the wayside as they do not follow the Scrum in principle. This is where the Scrum Master plays a critical role in the success of the team. So that's why it is being said that the Scrum requires the Scrum Master to foster the environment where a product owner orders the work for a complex problem into the product backlog. It means that the product owner uh, will prioritize the work into the product backlog in such a way that it helps the team to solve the complex problems faster. A good product backlog makes the release and iteration planning easier, which in turn increases the team productivity basically. So it is important that the product owner should always maintain, inspect, and prioritize the product backlog. And this is the responsible maintenance of the product backlog, communication related to the product backlog, everything is product owner's responsibility. But the Scrum Master should encourage the product owner and should make sure that the product owner is performing his duties and responsibilities properly. So that is the responsibility of the Scrum Master, that he should take care that the product owner is doing his duty properly. Now, next point is the Scrum team turns the selection of the work into an increment of value during the sprint. So from the product backlog, the Scrum team would select some of the items for the current sprint or the iteration. So sprint is nothing but the iteration of specific period of time in which the team would be working on to generate the increment or um, the value. And again, it is the responsibility of the Scrum team to create a value added increment every sprint, but it is the responsibility of Scrum Master that he makes sure that the team is following this practice of sprint, and they are working on they are selecting the certain items in the product backlog from the product backlog, estimating it properly, and then they are working on it, and if there are any blockers in it, they are communicating. So all these things the Scrum Master should make sure that the Scrum team is following the process. The next point is the Scrum team and its stakeholders inspect the results and adjust for the next sprint. And basically, the Scrum team and stakeholders, that is the development team and the business users, will come together. They'll inspect and adapt, and they will check the work done by the team and make sure that it is valuable. Some feedbacks will also be provided by the stakeholders, and accordingly, the product backlog would be adjusted in the future sprints. So these three activities are the basic activities that are part of the Scrum framework, and it is the responsibility of the Scrum Master that all these activities uh, would be done in a proper fashion, and the Scrum Master should encourage and engage the team for doing these activities and following the framework, the rules, and he should promote the activities basically. That is what is being said here. Now, Scrum is simple. Try it as is and determine if its philosophy, theory, and structure help to achieve goals and create value. The Scrum framework is purposely incomplete, only defining the parts required to implement Scrum theory. Scrum is built upon the collective intelligence of people using it rather than provide people with detailed instructions, the rules of Scrum guide, their relationship and interactions. Now, the Scrum framework is a particular set of rules, ideas, or beliefs which the team would use in order to deal with the problems or to deal with what they need to do. Sticking to the set of rules and beliefs will help the team work effectively, but it can't tell the team every step to follow when building the product. Instead, it is a guide that each team will have to apply to their own circumstances. For example, let's say that the Scrum team is working from the different locations. So, in that case, the daily scrums would be conducted virtually. Similarly, if the customers involved are from various regions, from different markets or from different regions, in that case, the collaboration practices with the customers would be conducted in a different manner. No two teams would be working or adopting the Scrum framework in similar a similar manner. All of them will adhere to the rules and values of the Scrum, but the way of working would be different. The way they will apply the Scrum in their own circumstances will vary. That is what is said here, that various processes, techniques, and methods can be employed within the Scrum framework. Uh, so within the Scrum framework, based upon the circumstances and situations of the Scrum team, different multiple changes and techniques can be, or multiple processes can be employed within the framework. Basic rules and the basic beliefs of the Scrum would be followed by the team. The basic values, rules would be followed by the team, but along with that they can add some additional techniques and processes which is suitable for their circumstances or their situations. Scrum wraps around existing practices or renders them unnecessary. So what does it mean? Whatever existing practices that the team was following before adopting the Scrum framework, those existing practices can only be extended with the addition of the Scrum framework, Scrum values and rules, or it is also possible that those existing practices would be completely made non-essential or not needed by the team, and come up with some additional new things along with the Scrum framework. So that is what it means here. Now Scrum makes visible the relative efficacy of current management environment and work techniques so that improvements can be made. As the Scrum is based on the pillar, one of the pillars of the Scrum is transparency. So transparency is very important in Scrum. We will discuss transparency in detail in the later videos, but here the visibility, that is what they are telling. Since Scrum involves transparency and visibility, because of that the productivity and the potential of the current management environment and the working techniques would be visible to the entire team, and because of this visibility the improvements can be made easily in the current management environment and the working techniques. That is what this point is about here. Now moving on to the Scrum theory. Scrum is founded on empiricism and lean thinking. Empiricism asserts that knowledge comes from experience and making decisions based on what is observed. Lean thinking reduces waste and focuses on essentials. So what they're telling here is the Scrum theory, or the Scrum is basically founded on empiricism and lean thinking. Scrum is based on continuous learning and adjustment. When we say empiricism, it is nothing but continuous learning and based upon the knowledge from the previous learning, adjusting to the fluctuating factors. It acknowledges that the team doesn't know everything at the start of the project and will evolve through the experience. That is what it means. When it comes to lean thinking is about reducing the waste and focusing on essentials. It means while developing the product, the first the team should focus on the MVP of the product, that is the minimum viable product. They should focus on creating the minimum viable product first, ignoring the not essential parts, ignoring the not essential features of the product which is not required basically. So they should always try to identify what is the most important thing that needs to be worked upon at the current situation, prioritize the things, work upon it, and they should try to eliminate the unimportant things. That is what it means. Scrum employs an iterative incremental approach to optimize predictability and to control risk. Scrum engages group of people who collectively have all the skills and expertise to do the work and share or acquire such skills as needed. Now in Scrum, generally the team would be consist of the cross-functional team members. The team members will have all the skills or expertise that is required to complete the work. The team would involve developers, testers, uh, if designers or architects, whoever is required to complete that requirement would be involved in the team. And Scrum is structured to help the teams naturally adapt to the changing conditions. and user requirements with repetitive with reprioritization built into the process and a short release cycle so that team can constantly learn and improve. So this incremental approach and iterative approach helps the team to predict things in predict if any issues can come up in advance, and with this predictability they can control the risk easily. That is what is being said here. Scrum combines four formal events for inspection and adaptation within a containing event, the sprint. These events work because they implement the empirical Scrum pillars of transparency, inspection, and adaptation. Now, Scrum has totally five events that are sprint planning, daily scrums, sprint review, sprint retrospective, and all these four events are part of the containing event, which is called as the sprint. So, with these four formal events, the main idea behind these four formal events is that it will enable inspection and adaptation. We will discuss in detail about the inspection and adaptation in our next video. These are two of the Scrum pillars, and the third one is transparency. So all these three Scrum pillars I will be discussing in the part 2 of the Scrum Guide explanation video. But for now, Scrum is about continuous inspection and adaptation, and it is possible only when the process is transparent to everyone. That is what the last point is about. So I'll leave you at this note, and you can come back to the channel for the part 2 of the video to understand these Scrum pillars. And yeah, that's it for this video, and thank you for watching.